Hi, Delilah. How are you doing? I'm just in a wave. I'm waiting for more people to jump on before I start speaking. Hi, Janice Liddell. Hi, Gary. I want to thank you guys for jumping on and joining me this morning. So we got a few people. Thank you for the morning. I felt that this was a topic that needs to be talked about. Sex addiction and sex abuse. So I'm going to start. As most of you, if you don't know, I'm a survivor of child sex abuse. And it started from 3 years old. And one of the things I want to share with you, I remember growing up and I was constantly told that you should wait till you're married. Delita Miller. Hi. I will get this right. So anyway, what I was saying is, I remember growing up and hearing, my parents and other adults mentioning that you should wait till you're married to have sex. And I remember being a little girl and I used to think that marriage, I remember the Cabbage Patch Kids, and I thought babies actually came from the garden. And I had no idea that my sex abuse was even, I guess what I'm saying is, even with the sexual abuse and the exposure of the abuse that I endured, I had no idea that it's, I guess the science of sex is what makes babies. But there was also another component to that, and that's building relationships and bonds. And I'm not going to go too in depth about the sex abuse. There's a lot of it shared in my book called Broken Silence. You can find that on Amazon through the Kindle, or you can order the book through my Facebook page at Chong Kim LLC, and you can hit shop now to get your paperback. That is if you want the autographed copy. So anyways, I wanted to go back to the sex abuse and how it manifests in my life. And I remember growing up, I didn't, even though I knew, well, I felt that something was wrong and something was not right with the things I went through. I was taught to perform oral sex even at a very young age by an adult. I was exposed to porn. I remember being a little kid, and like I said, I'm being completely transparent. And this is why it's so important for parents to talk to their kids, how their playtime is, what they're talking about, what they're learning. When I was a kid, I didn't know that the sex abuse I went through was wrong. I remember, and I'm not wanting to share this to shame anyone, but even as a little girl, I remember me and this girl, we would play house. And I do mean we would kiss, even though she was a girl. And apparently, she was also a victim of child sexual abuse. Otherwise, we wouldn't have thought that was normal. By the time I was 18, 19, and it wasn't so much, this was even before my trafficking, I became really promiscuous. When I was 18, I was raped by a cab driver, And I felt in my life that even though the sex abuse occurred, my connection is low. Anyways, even though the sex abuse did occur in my life, however, I knew in my heart I wanted to save myself for someone who was special to me, because I was always raised that you should wait till you're married. By the time I was 18 and I was raped by a cab driver, all my hopes and dreams of wanting to wait went out the door. I became angry. I felt like, well, why should I wait anymore if I'm going to continuously be abused? And the people who knew about it, didn't prevent this. And I also didn't know about dating. Hi, Jalal. How are you doing? Hi, Morgan. Thank you for watching. By the time I was 18, I just didn't care anymore. After the ongoing sexual abuse in my childhood, I just didn't care. And I didn't know what healthy relationship was. And so I became promiscuous. I started sleeping around. One of the things I want to share with you, as I move on with my life and as I get older, I'm starting to hear lyrics of young women today that, are sharing about, there was a lyric that I heard from, Beyonce and Rihanna and even Nicki Minaj about, let me break it down to you, I'm going to do you like no one ever did. The mindset of that sexual power also falls under unhealthy sexual relationship. And people may disagree with that, but I remember even after my trafficking, that was all I knew. That was all I was constantly craving for. And when I started realizing I was basically having sex with different partners without developing a relationship, I became emptier and emptier inside, to where it became an addiction. And to where I started getting into orgies, I started getting into BDSM and all these other types. And one of the things that most people have different sexual interests, and that's fine. But this is where it gets unhealthy, is where you feel like you have to have it. You can't stop. And addiction goes across the board, from food, narcotics, drinking, cigarettes, anything. It can even be the most natural thing like salt and sugar, and things like that. So when we're not balancing what we're looking at in our lives and how we take that in, and all my life, until I met my son's father and he passed away, he taught me about value. I remember the first time we dated, I went to have sex because I thought that's what a relationship was about. You give yourself to just anyone. Until he asked me one day, he said, have you ever said no? That was unfamiliar to me. I never knew that you could say no, because my boundaries were crossed even as a little girl, even at the age of 3. When the abuser violates your boundaries and violates your no, and then when you tell someone that I've been sexually abused and they said, well, that didn't happen. So you start to manifest that mindset that, okay, I don't have a voice. I can't say no. I'm not allowed to say no. It's like an unspoken rule, if that makes sense. And so as an adult, I just didn't care. And I would get angry when I would be on dates and I wanted to have sex and they didn't. I would get angry. And that's when I knew there was a problem. But even at that time, I didn't know it was a problem. I started to carry on this crutch that, well, I've been abused, so I can excuse it. Or, you don't understand me. Or, because of my trafficking, I was used to this. And all of that may have manifest in my addiction. However, it's been over 20 years. I cannot continue to live that life. And so when I got married 10 years ago, I thought, great, I don't have to worry about trying to find my needs. But one of the sad part was, before my marriage, all the relationship I was in, I also cheated. I was the other woman. I would purposely date men that were married or that was attached. So that way it was a power trip for me. So that way if they started bothering me or they started wanting to talk, or get clingy, then I would threaten them, well, I'm going to tell your wife or I'm going to tell your girlfriend. And, but I remember every time that I was in a sexual relationship with people I didn't know or didn't care or they didn't care about me, I felt more and more emptier. And so now that, I'm changing my life and I'm actually going through a divorce right now, and but I decided I want to remain abstinent, and it's not because of religious reasons. For the first time, I want to be with someone that is a healthy sexual and healthy intimate relationship, and that I hardly ever got until when I met my son's father. He was the first one. After that, when he passed, I didn't care anymore, but the hurt continued. And because I've shared my clean date of being cocaine, meth, and crack free for 18 years, I want to start sharing about my other vulnerabilities, my other struggles. And even though while I was married, I still struggled with sex addiction. I would have sex dreams and they weren't healthy. I would start fantasizing and dreaming and things like that, and I want people to know that. And I think that it is wrong information for people to say that porn only affects men. That is not true. Porn does affect women. I was one of them. I used to watch porn as well, as crazy as that may sound, but I was. And I used to feel that taboo, like, oh, well, I'm a woman, I'm not allowed to watch this. And I thought, well, as long as it's, as long as they're adults, then that's okay. I would make excuses. And, but I was feeling empty. And the whole point of being addicted to anything is wanting to refill whatever that void is. Until I started realizing I needed to be healthy with me. I need to be healthy with me. This is the first time I'm getting emotional. This is the first time I've been open and honest about sex addiction, about porn, and that's why I feel like I can't punish someone for looking at porn, because I've done it too. And I want people to know that it affects everybody. And I can't say that if I was never sexually abused, would I be still seeking out porn? I don't know, because I've never had that life. But I wanted to share this because I see young girls and boys that doesn't have to devalue their life and doesn't have to try to get that power trip, like, oh, I can break it down like this, or a girl that says, well, he wants me, so I need to give it to him. That's not true. The first important thing that in today's society I think that we are losing is developing a friendship more than anything, and being friends and getting to know one another. And but if we're in that need of that instant gratification, looking for someone to fulfill our needs, then I think we need to take a step back and say, okay, there's definitely a problem and I need help. And there's nothing wrong with that. So, with that being said, I don't want to keep you guys on too long, but it's been close to a year that I've been abstinent, and I've been keeping myself busy writing, and so I want to share that with you. And I'm sharing the very vulnerable parts about my life, and I hope that this will help and encourage you. And I'd be happy to talk more about sex addiction. If you'd like for me to share a little bit more details, let me know. But this is my first go around, and so I don't want to stay too long. But thank you so much for listening. But most important thing is never devalue yourself for anyone, not even for yourself, because you should value who you are, and it's really important. And know that you don't owe anybody anything. And like I said, thank you so much for watching, and it's really important. And feel free to share this, ask questions. I'm an open book. My purpose to share this is to help other men and women with their sex addiction, overcoming the sex abuse in their life, and everything else. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and have a blessed and amazing day. Bye.